G'day people, servus, krise, hello, what's up? Thanks so much for listening. This podcast, I sat down and chatted with a lovely lady called Gabrielle. Gabrielle is the founder of two businesses here in Salzburg, the first one being the English Center, and the second one is a language travel business where she takes students on an overseas exchange to Cambridge in the UK. And she's done a fantastic job at creating a home for English speakers as well as an environment for young and old to speak English. So all I can say is just Google the English Center, check it out, go and see her in the store. She's got a little cafe and a huge range of books, old and new. But regardless, I really hope you enjoy the conversation. Cheers. Gabrielle, thank you so much for the invitation.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, all good. Well, this is the first podcast outside of my little veranda area. And we are in the English Center, everybody, which is so this is your company. This is where you work. This is your baby.
Yes. Yeah, this is, we were talking about it earlier. This is my third baby. I have three other babies, but this is the third one. The English Center was founded 8th of December 2006. So we will be celebrating 15 years of being here in the neighborhood, in the
15
hood.
years.
Yeah.
That's crazy. How long have you been in Salzburg?
2001 officially.
Okay.
However, I worked for 2 years prior to that, and I was in and out of the country, prior to that. So, 23, 24 years.
24 years. Okay, nice. Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much once again for having me here and for the invitation, for the champagne. Can you give a little bit of an explanation about who you are for people that don't know you and sort of what you've done, what you've accomplished? The countries you've lived in. You've told me you've lived in a few countries. Can you give me a bit of a rundown?
Yeah, sure. So I realize that I don't fit the profile at the moment of all the people you've had on your podcast. So I'm very thankful and grateful that you went out of your comfort zone to come to the English Center and be here and do the podcast here instead of on the terrace, which is wonderful because it gives people an eye and an insight to the English Center for those of you who don't know it. And people who don't know me, some people might know me or recognize my name from some of the Facebook groups that are in town. We opened the business 15 years ago because this building was brand new and it was zoned. These 100 square meters were zoned for a business. At first, I was very unhappy about the building going up here because it had been a beautiful garden here and was part of the villa that's next to the English Center.
Okay.
But as it worked out, there was a need for a place to hold courses. The Austrian American Society had called me and asked, since I was opening a center, would I be interested in running their courses for them because they weren't interested in running them anymore at the time. There had been a lovely lady, Marianne Belko-Koch, who had been selling English books, English children's books, and teaching material for 13 years. She was going back to the States for a year and was getting rid of her inventory, so that worked out. I needed to figure out what I was going to do, if I was going to go back to teach at the Handelsakademie or if I was going to do something else. And so it just worked out. All these things came together. I said, hit me on the head by a 2x4 if this is supposed to happen.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
So so it happened. So we chose a name, the English Center, and not Centre, as people will say when you're here, because it's spelled, we chose the ER, the international spelling, and not the British spelling with the RE, because I wanted everybody to feel included. It was very important to me that we were able to reach out to American people, British people, Australian people, New Zealand people, South African people, who else haven't I mentioned? All the other English-speaking countries out there. I just wanted them to have a home, because at the time, 15 years ago, there wasn't really a home.
It's awesome.
Yeah. So it was good fun. And in this neighborhood, I thought as well, it's really nice to have a center, a place that people can come. We do have the Forum shopping center up at the train station, but that actually didn't exist 15 years ago.
Forum Eins, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true, there was a smaller shopping center, but not the big one the way it is now. And so there wasn't really a coffee shop nearby. My husband has had a coffee business, so it made sense that we would have his coffee machine here. We have a different one, just got a new different machine, a different new machine. But for 15 years, we had his machine from his company. And so we've had, obviously we have the books. We have a lot of children's books. We have a lot of teaching material. We have a lot of adult literature, contemporary books, a lot of classics. We have a lot of pre-loved books. So a lot of people will come to me and ask, do you have room, or do you take the books? I'm leaving the country, and I love to, because I can't stand the idea of books ending up in the bin. So I say, yes, please bring them by, and that's why we have books everywhere.
Okay.
And the pre-loved books we sell for a few euros or a donation. We're actually very, very lenient about that. We used to do a trading system that people could earn money, but it became too much and too hard to control that. And so now I just really do it on a donation or a couple of euros.
Okay, makes sense. Mm-hmm. So if you could put the English Center into a few sentences or into a few bullet points of information, you've obviously got books that you sell here. You've got a cafe, essentially. If you could summarize it for the people in a few words or a few bullet points, what would you say the English Center is?
A place to come for English exchange. We have courses available. We have 2 rooms that you can rent out if you're a teacher and you're looking for a nice space in which to teach a class. You don't necessarily want to go to a cafe because it's a bit loud. You can come here, because even though we're a cafe where it's actually quiet, we have a lot of down hours. So you can come here and do that. You can take I already said that, take a course. We have book groups. For young families, we have a Music Together program where we run Music Together classes here. That is a program that's also 35 years old, from the United States, for 0 to 5-year-olds. And so we teach that class here as well. Yeah. It just keeps going, doesn't it? There's a lot of things we do.
No. I mean, but
it's hard to sum it up.
This is a perfect answer, and I think that what you could say from this is that if anybody has any questions or queries about English in Salzburg, then honestly, come and see the store, because she's such a lovely lady. Here's a story. This is a sum up, okay? I arrived in Salzburg. One weekend of being here, I was struggling. No, I wasn't struggling, but I'd basically just picked my life up and moved it here. And I saw from Gabrielle a message. She replied to something I posted, and she said, "We might have a job for you, or we might have an option for you. Why don't you come into the English Center?" And I came in, and you were probably the first person that was proper English that had, built this life here, and you had a business. And I sat there and I was thinking, this is just so refreshing to speak to another English speaker, and it made me feel a little bit more calm. So if you are in the position that I was in, or even if you just want to speak more English, if you're German, if you're Austrian, if you come from Kazakhstan, doesn't matter, come and find her, because this place is awesome for that.
Right.
And one other thing that I really appreciate is that you try and make it not only English. You try and not make this, like I said before, an English wolf pack.
Right. That was super important to me, that we didn't become an elite English speaking group. I did not want that, because I really believe in integration. So the way I was raised and the way I learned German was, you speak German with German speakers, you speak English with English speakers. So a little bit of background. You'd asked me before where I'm from and where I'd lived. So I'm Australian born. I know I don't sound it. I'm very sorry to all the Australians listening. If we hang around a bit more, and then I might have a little bit more of an Australian intonation. Then we moved to England. Canada, and then to the United States, to Wyoming. I just met somebody from Wyoming
Really?
right before right before school closed down for the year. It was lovely because nobody's from Wyoming. So finally, there's somebody else in Salzburg from Wyoming. But then after I graduated from high school there, I was an exchange student in Germany. I went to university in Southern California, taught there for 2 years, got my teaching certificate there, moved to Alaska for 3 years, and then came here for 2, was asked to work here, went back for my master's degree, and then I came back here. So don't do the math.
Yeah. Yeah, but with that time and that experience, you've probably grown so much as a person, I can imagine. There's a lot of experiences and yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't stop, though. It doesn't stop. I'm learning every day, every day. So right now I'm helping out at the American International School in the Moschstrasse. They needed some teachers for the summer, called me, and my colleague and I were able to go down there and help them out for a 2-week session. And for the first time in a class, I've had students who I needed to change the gender when I address them. And I'd never had that before. So you never stop learning. There are always new situations confronting you. And I felt like, whoa, I'm just beginning again, starting all over. It's wonderful. That's really wonderful.
And so when you have you've progressed from the 15 years of owning the store, I'm sure that you can say a lot for, with regards to entrepreneurship and people trying to start a business. I think it's incredible that you did this in not your own home country. It's hard to start a business in your own country, let alone in a country that doesn't speak your mother tongue, and it has completely different rules and legislations and stuff like that. So for people like me and people out there that have had business ideas and feel like they want to do something, do you have any stories or advice or feedback or anything to say about the fact of how hard it is to build a business in another country?
As we said before we started recording, there's so much to say and so many ways to answer all these questions that it's very challenging to find the exact correct words to use. I don't know if I would have started a business of my own if I had stayed in the United States, but I honestly don't know if I would have stayed in the United States, because certainly the last few years would have been very difficult to have lived there. I'm very, very thankful that I'm here in Austria, not just anywhere in Europe. I really like being in Austria. I'd lived in Germany as well, and I really enjoy the Austrian mentality. I had always said that year as an exchange student already, and I was only 17 when I graduated from high school and when I did that year of exchange, so 17 to 18. And I said, if I would like to come back and live here, and if I do, I know it will be in Austria or maybe southern Germany, because Bavaria is almost its own state anyway, right? Or Switzerland, because that's the area and the landscape I enjoy. I really like the mountains. So here, when I received the opportunity to come over and work over here, my first question the question was, would you like to work in Europe? And I said, oh, yes, great. That would be lovely. Would you like to? And I said, where? Where exactly in Europe? Austria. Oh, yeah, that's great. Great. Okay, I know the language. Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. What would I be doing? And that's when the title of the job came up. I was Dean of Student Life for the University of Redlands up on the Marketenderschlössel on the Münchberg. Yep. But back to running a business, it just came about, and because my husband was very supportive at the time, and I did have a team of women around me. We had all been volunteering for the Austrian American Society and wanted to do more than what we were able to do in that society. And so it just worked out that we said, well, let's do it. Let's found this business, find something, find a place where we can be creative and do all the things that we want to do. One of the things that was really important to me was to be very community oriented. So I really believe, along with our books that we have to sell, is I wanted it to be a community, a neighborhood store. So a place where people who don't read English could still come and find something here.
Right.
So we have a lot of local people. We have handmade dolls by the lady Neely Glaser, who runs the ballet academy every summer.
Okay.
There was a lovely Australian who made glass beads. In the meantime, she's moved back to Australia. She still has her beads and still does her art in Australia, but we still have some of her necklaces and her beadwork and the vitrina that she has, the display case back here. In the window right now, I have some Schultüten hanging. Do you know what a Schultüte is?
No.
It's the cone. It looks like a cone, a big cone. And an Australian friend of mine has a really good story. She didn't know that she was supposed to have a Schultüte for her child when the child started elementary school until the night before. Everybody was talking about it in the neighborhood. Well, what did you put in the tute? And then she realized, oh my goodness. So she and her husband, who's also Australian, they put together this fantastic contraption and it all worked out. The son was happy. It was all fine. But these are handmade by a local Austrian.
And it's basically, if I can cut you off real quick, it's a cone that you fill with lollies, right? Like sweets.
You can fill them with lollies, unless you don't like to overload your children with sugar. Yeah. You can put pencils in, paints. Okay. You can, I'm one of those moms, I know. I put in all the things that they needed for school. Of course, I did put a few lollies and chocolates and things like that inside as well. And they carry that to school the first day.
First day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the neat thing about these that we have is that you can take out the paper that's holding it into a cone form and you put in a pillow. So you can keep it forever and ever.
A memory of the first day.
Yeah.
Probably needed.
Yeah. So I like to do that. I like to have other people's interest. In October, we're going to have a lady who makes jewelry. Is going to come and do an exhibition, although I'm not sure yet if that's going to be public or not. I have to find out for sure.
Okay.
But if not, I can still tell you the website if you're interested. Did I say the date when it is in October?
No.
No. Okay. So we're fine. But that's just what I love doing, is sharing the energy that all these people have and what they do. It's so important to share that with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I think that your idea of community is very, very important, especially... You can't live without it, especially with a place like this. And you can't neglect the fact that you're in Austria as well. You've got to embrace the culture and the community here. And
I think it's been a nice way to see the children, like our neighborhood children, grow up and how good they are in English now. It's just incredible to see that. I know that a lot of your listeners, or you're not in the child phase at all at the moment, which is completely okay. There's a time for everything, but that's been one of the beautiful things to see here at the English Center. It's just how people grow and develop with the language, to expose them to English. So one of the children's course I teach is English exposure, because I'm not into teaching all the grammar to children. That's not how you teach them the language anyway, but it's about having fun with them and letting people realize that, English is so important and so valuable nowadays. But I really wanted to make a place for myself in this neighborhood and to feel like I belong. And this was a way to do that.
Yeah. When people move to a new country or a culture, I think a lot of the time they either require or they will learn specific attributes that they hold valuable whilst they're going through this transition in their life. When I came here, I found humbleness was very important, because I have had multiple humiliating experiences trying to speak German, trying to order food, trying to make friends, speaking with people in the public, crossing the road. Everything's just a little bit different here. And I've learned a few attributes, and one of those, like I said, is humbleness and kindness and all these sorts of things. Do you think that, from your perspective, someone that's not only coming to Austria but coming to any country, what do you think they should have or think about or be in order to integrate to the country better?
Right. We have to be open-minded and willing to accept new situations. It's, as I said before, it's never stops. It never stops. I'm still saying embarrassing things even though I've been here so long, and even though I don't even like to admit these days that I studied German, because I would like my German to be better. But because I speak English all day, I notice in the evenings that, it doesn't always come out like I would like it to come out. But I've been able to develop different groups of friends. So I have, and I was very, very lucky in this respect, children. And through the children, there's a group of mommies in the neighborhood, and we still get together to this day, even though the children are much older now. And it's really important to have those evenings for me so that I can still speak German all the time with them. I've been thinking a lot in the last few days about what makes it so special, or what do you have to do? And I realized, it's not just about the questions that you ask in all of these podcasts. They're true about everybody in all situations, in all countries. Even if I had stayed home, I still need to be open-minded. Wyoming, in many ways, we were always the foreigners. Always the foreigners. Okay. And I was always very different. Wyoming is the worst place for accepting new people, new types of people, extremely homophobic. And that was horrible. That was so hard for me, because I just want to be able to love everybody, because I'm from so many different places. It's hard to watch the Olympics for me, because I love all the countries. I want them all to win, it really teaches you about loving people for who they are inside, and finding the good about people. And different situations that I'm in now, when I'm frustrated, and if I want to say, oh, I wish I could change that, or so and so's like this because, well, why are they like that? Is it because it's Is it a generational thing? Is it a cultural thing that they do this, that they have this funny characteristic? I don't know what you want to pick. Is it is it because they're male? Is it because they're female? Is it because they get up on the left side of the bed or the right side of the bed? You can't always answer that. And that situation is true in any country. It's not always country specific.
Right.
I know that's not really helping your listeners.
Well, I think when it kind of exposes these characteristics when you put yourself in a position like moving countries. No. This is why. If you're at home and you're in New Zealand, Auckland, I can be in my comfort zone basically all the time. And as soon as you leave that comfort zone, that's when these characteristics need to show themselves. Because I could be an arsehole all day in New Zealand and still go home to a bed and dinner and have a probably, life. My life would just exist. But as soon as you come over here and you're an arsehole, life's going to be exponentially worse for you, I think.
Because you don't know why exactly. And you think, oh, did I do something wrong? Or wait a minute, was the other person's fault? They were really weird. They bumped into me, and yet I'm the one saying sorry, to use Graham's example, right? They did. Well, I don't understand. But there are, so a lovely lady, when I first moved here, told me probably the best bit of advice. She said, just because somebody is from your home country, right? You meet them here in Austria, and it's like, oh, yeah, we're both from Wyoming, or we're both American, or, oh, okay, we're both from Melbourne. Doesn't mean that you're going to be best of friends. You always have to ask yourself the question, would I be friends with that person back in Melbourne, back in Wyoming, back in America? Is this the person with whom I would spend time anyway? Right? So that's being very specific now to people and finding friendship and finding people you hang out with. It's a comfortable place to be when you meet that person, because you have things in common and you have something together that you can both relate to. But then you realize, oh, I see things completely differently. I see things half full. And that person, okay, she was great for those first few weeks I was here, or those first few months, but she's always seeing things half empty. And then it's okay to move on and to gracefully move on. And both of you need to do that, It's so important to be able to do that and let your experience here take you to new places. And if things are happening for you, if you're open and positive, they will happen. Having a baby here was one of the scariest things in my life, because I'd never had a baby before. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And then to have a baby in a foreign country, and I didn't know the words. I didn't have the terminology. I'd lived here for a while. I knew some German, but I ended up seeing a TV show 2 weeks before having my baby, before going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And I totally used the words that they said, es kommt, es kommt. And it was hysterical. My husband said he could hear me outside reparking the car, until we found out that if you are delivering, you can leave your car parked inside the hospital for 24 hours before you have to move it. We didn't know that. We tried to move the car right away. We'd never had a baby before. You learn these things. Yeah. Or you talk to somebody who's had a baby before and find out.
What's it like bringing up kids in Austria?
Again, I've never raised children any other place, so I've only raised them here. And I think there's so many wonderful things about Austria, but there's so many good things about other countries too. And one thing I've been noticing is that for a long time, I always felt very different, because I'd lived in so many different places as a child. And I hadn't found the other people who had lived in all those different places. But right now, Salzburg has changed so much in the last 15 years. When we first opened the English Center, the people who came to the classes were really all from the neighborhood. They all just walked down the road and came here to the class. But now, in the last 5-6 years, we've noticed a large trend. Those children are all growing up. Their English is great. They don't need to come for tutoring, for courses anymore. But who's been coming to classes are a lot of expat families, because they're looking for something in English. And so it's a great opportunity for the Austrian families out there to come and mix their children with native speaker children. It's incredible. We have a Saturday morning program where I read every Saturday morning to children for about 45 minutes. We have a snack together, and then we do a craft. And there are some children who have only come to that program. They've never taken a class during the semester. They've only come on Saturdays. And they are amazingly good in English. It blows me away.
That's awesome.
Just from coming and listening to stories and doing crafts with us, making things. Every week is different. It's good fun. And oftentimes, since Saturday is Dad's Day, it's all the dads sitting outside, getting to know each other, chatting. At least pre-COVID times it was. It always warmed my heart when I'd see all the dads out here talking, getting to know each other, mixing and mingling. It was fabulous. With COVID, it's been very, very challenging for us, as with everybody. And we've let the children come in for classes, but we couldn't have that many people inside, so we had to send the parents off to do their errands. But I hope that once we're able to have capacity at the center again, then they'll stay and hang out and meet each other, because it's good fun.
I want to jump over to a different topic, because we don't have that much time left. It's already 35 minutes.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You've lived in 7 countries, and I want to know what was the best country and why, and maybe list the countries as well. This is fascinating.
Yeah, born
for me.
in Australia, lived in England, Canada, the States, and then Germany, back to the States, Alaska, and Austria. I realize Alaska is not a country, although some people do think it is.
Worth mentioning, yeah.
Yeah, they do. All of the countries are wonderful. They all have something wonderful to offer, and I have wonderful memories and a great network with which I'm still in touch. I have people from every phase. Not a lot, but say 2 or 3. I used to be more active on Facebook. I'm not as much anymore, simply for privacy reasons and for being burned twice on Facebook, bad experiences. And so now I'm very, very cautious about what I put out there, because people will see a photo and can completely misinterpret something.
Yeah.
So I'm very careful about that. But the best place, I chose Alaska for myself. Nobody in my family had been there before. I wanted to go somewhere to make sure that I really was, who I thought I was. I'd been teaching for 2 years in California, but I was also teaching at the university where everybody knew me. They knew what type of a student I had been. They I fit into their certain box, and I wanted to make sure, am I really that person?
It was very courageous.
So I went to Alaska. I only knew one person. She did let me stay with her for 2 days until when I first got there. Went hiking with her. She was showing me around town. I'd never been there before, but I said, I just want to go to Alaska. I want to go someplace nobody in my family has been before. So I was hiking, and at the top of the mountain, there was another young lady who I overheard a conversation. She was looking for a roommate. I said, hey, I'm looking for a roommate. Yeah,
boom, there you
and
go.
we got along, and so there it was. Yeah, it was lovely. It was lovely.
Awesome. And then, so you lived in Alaska with a random girl you met at the top of a hill.
Yeah.
And she was your roommate.
She was my roommate for a good couple of months. I ended up going from, if you know Anchorage at all, I went from the water to the mountains, to the water, to the mountains, lived in the original homestead cabin out in Girdwood, Alaska, by trading tutoring.
Okay.
Was doing math tutoring twice a week, and in exchange for being able to live in the cabin. It was great.
That's crazy.
I actually would love to jump back and make a comment too when you asked about running a business in a foreign country.
Yeah.
And starting a business, doing that. Like I said, I don't know if I would have done that if I had stayed back in wherever I had been, in the States or wherever I ended up. But it worked out here, taking my passion and making a business out of it. The danger with that is that you end up doing so much administrative work that you don't get to do your passion anymore.
I see.
And that's a big challenge. So you need to, if you're thinking about doing that, you need to think really carefully, how can I take care of the paperwork? Can I have somebody help me with that part? If I'm a photographer, I want to be able to go out and take the photos. I don't want to be at home doing the books. Right? So I'm the teacher. I want to be able to teach. I love teaching. And there have been times that I get my head so wrapped up in the bookkeeping or in marketing and doing all those other parts of a business that I don't always get to do my passion.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you can find the balance. And I really suggest finding other people with your passion. There's no reason that you always have to reinvent the wheel. So team up with people. And one of you might actually be the bookkeeper among your friends.
Yep.
And 3 of you are the photographers, or more of you are teachers. Well, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Come and rent a room, do things with us here. Feel free to share your ideas here and grow here, because we have a base. We have people already, and we can help you. We've got the bookkeeper. We've got the computing system. And so we can work together on that.
Yeah.
I'm not just saying that trying to plug the English
Trying to
Center.
network,
I'm really saying that because as expats here, we all have that in common, that fear, and we need to instead take our fear and make it into our strength. It's easier, of course, if you have a full-time job and these are all just side jobs, if it's not your bread and butter.
Right.
The English Center is our bread and butter, together with a language travel business. A British fellow from Cambridge, England, who had come to Austria 40 years ago, and we had worked together at the Handelsakademie at the business high school just over the bridge. I didn't realize how much I was following in his shoes. One of the things I did a little bit differently was cater more to families. And he had started with an English institute in the Linzergasse in the 1980s.
Yeah.
He was a bachelor, so he lived in the office and then was able to have his classes, held debates, did all sorts of things, just like we've done with our round tables and having people over, having different events. And eventually he got into language travel. Being from Cambridge, England, he realized, why aren't I taking Austrian students? Let's go. And they would hang out for 6 weeks in the summertime.
Okay.
That eventually turned into 4 weeks, and now we take students for 2, 3, or 4 weeks.
To Cambridge, yeah.
Yeah, to Cambridge in the summertime. So that's really wonderful, and we organize school project weeks, can organize the trip for adults. My husband did the certificate that you have to have a travel agency. So if you don't have that, then you shouldn't be organizing those trips. That's what you need to do that. That's part of the Austrian laws, Austrian logistics that you have to know before you do a business.
Just out of curiosity, as someone that's taught lots of kids and been around kids, have you ever had like a ridiculously naughty kid or a ridiculously intelligent kid, or do you have any stories that are interesting? If you want to share, you don't have to share, by the way.
Oh, so many students over so many years. I'm still in touch with some of my students from my very first year of teaching, which is wonderful. I did have students, I was just telling the story this morning, a student come in, he'd had a really, really bad day. And he said, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot you, Miss K.
Nah.
And I said, I had my back to the classroom. I'd been writing things on the chalkboard. And I knew him. I said, you know what, Arturo, I've had a really bad day too. So if you're going to shoot, go ahead. Just, try to pick some pace nice. Like try one of the legs so that I'll be out for the rest of the school year. Maybe my arm, then I won't have to teach, for at least maybe 2 years. Who knows by the time rehab is. Just, go for it, okay? Just, the heart, let's avoid that because I like my life. So I don't want to be totally dead, okay? And I turned around. He just looked at me and he's all, you're no fun. That's no fun at all. And I was like, okay, get out your page, your books, page 62, problem 45. And that was it. We didn't deal with it. It was okay. When I told people later, they're all, you're crazy. Why didn't you have him removed? Why didn't you have him taken out? I mean, back in California, this is kind of East LA-ish. I know my LA people will be like, it's not quite East LA, but for everybody else, it's East LA. We had phones in the classroom, and I could have called security and had him taken out. But why? He wasn't serious.
Okay.
And I think your students. Yeah. He wouldn't have done that. It was okay.
He was just a character.
Yeah, he just had a bad day. We all have bad days.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Well, I once again appreciate you bringing me to your place, your English Centre. Thank you for the champagne, and we really enjoyed the chat. I'd love to ask you more questions about the life that you've lived, because I think there's a lot more there. So maybe we do another podcast at some point.
We still have loads of notes that we have to go over.
I know, but I can't get too long. So.
I know. And thank you so much. Thank you. I feel for everybody. I look at that Facebook page so often, and there's so many more things I would love to write. It could be a full-time job responding to that. I am so proud of Graham for what he's done and the community he's created with that. It's wonderful.
For the people that don't know what you're talking about, the English speaking in Salzburg page. So there's a lot of really, really awesome info for expats or anyone really that speaks English on Facebook.
Yeah.
In Salzburg, sorry.
Yeah. So we're here, and we have summer hours, of course. We're filming this or recording this during the summer. So our hours are in the morning. On Tuesday, we have a long day because we have an afternoon music together class. So we get our parents and our babies in and still have fun making music with them. Music is one of those languages that you can speak at any age, even if you're just brand new on this planet. Yeah. So that's fun. Then once the school year starts, we'll go back to a longer day and to Saturdays as well.
Awesome. And simply Google the English Centre and you'll find the address. You can put that in maps and come straight here. And also, I'll put the links to her, to your social medias and website and stuff like that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So much. So I can't wait to be able to repost this as well and say, look what I did. This is fun.
No.
Very fun.
Absolute
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you. No, good. Well, cheers everybody. Have a good afternoon or day or whatever you live in.
Cheers.